Poor Things, his latest Yorgos Lanthimos film that stars Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, and Mark Ruffalo. Yes, I know his name is not actually Yogurt. I know it's Yorgos. I don't need to hear anybody in the comment section talking about, oh, you got his name wrong. It's Yorgos. I know, I just call him Yogurt because I'm a fucking idiot. But Poor Things is definitely one of my most highly anticipated films of the year. I absolutely love everything that I've seen from Yorgos Lanthimos. The first film that I actually seen from him was The Killing of the Sacred Deer, and that was way back when. That was actually my first breakout video. That video itself, with me analyzing The Killing of a Sacred Deer, helped me gain a lot of traction for the channel. So I have that film and that video to thank, for some of the following that I have now. The Lobster is one of the most absurd and darkly hilarious romantic comedies that I've ever seen. I've only seen it that one time, 6 years ago, and I still have such a fond memory of it. And obviously, I really love The Favorite. I haven't seen it since theaters, but The Favorite is obviously a fantastic film. Dogtooth is one of his earlier works, and he has not made anything nearly as fucked up as Dogtooth. But that doesn't make any of his later films any better or weaker. But it is definitely by far his most fucked up film. I actually haven't seen Alps yet. That was the film he made before Dogtooth. I am intrigued by it. I do want to check it out eventually. That was a film I believe he made before Dogtooth. I think that was his directorial debut. I'll get to that soon. I'm pretty sure I'll really like it. But yeah, I love all of his films. I just love how bold and bizarre of a filmmaker he is. And Poor Things perfectly encapsulates, I think, everything that we love about him as a filmmaker. The Favorite was a little bit of a break from his kind of bizarre personality as a filmmaker, but it's still a fantastic film in its own right. But now he's kind of back to doing exactly what we've always loved about him. This film is intensely quirky from start to finish. It has such a morbid and dark sense of humor. And just again, throughout the entire runtime, Lanthimos' ability to just have this continuous, bizarre and surreal and quirky type of sense of humor and actually have it be effective and the shtick not wear off throughout the entire runtime, I think is super admirable and just so impressive as a filmmaker, because this film is entertaining. Through all of its 2 hour and 20-minute runtime, there really wasn't any point of this film that I found to be boring. Really, the best way I could describe this film to you in the simplest terms possible is that, to me, this felt like a gothic, surreal fairy tale for adults. There's so much about not only the substance and the content and the environment of this film that feels surreal and gothic and fairy tale-like, but even the aesthetic alone. It gets to a point, especially when this film transitions from black and white to color, that there's this huge layer of this kind of artificial aesthetic to it, especially when it comes to the vibrancy of the sky. Again, it's overbearingly vibrant, to the point where you can tell it's some kind of weird CGI color grading or something going on. But it just fits the style and the surrealness and the attitude of this film to where it just matches with it, and it doesn't feel like it's taking you out because it's just so intertwined for the established personality of what this film is achieving. And the cinematography of this film and just the look of it in general, I feel like definitely enhances and elevates that type of personality as well, because Lanthimos really utilizes the kind of fisheye lens throughout his entire film. He started using it in The Favorite, and he uses it, at least in my opinion, a lot more in this film. And it just, again, works really well for the personality of this film, because it just provides a warped sense of environment that I think the sense of humor, the atmosphere, and the central concept of this film all just feels twisted and warped. And I just think the cinematography, and especially the use of that fisheye lens, just kind of amplifies that feeling. Honestly, overall, I was pretty fucking blown away with how stunning the cinematography was, because there are some shots in this film, especially, again, once it transitions from black and white to color, where at times it has kind of a more artificial look to it, it still manages to be surprisingly beautiful and stunning. just with the vibrancy of the colors and just the way that the shots are framed. It looks uniquely beautiful yet bizarre at the same time. And it's also unapologetically a feminist piece of cinema, without a doubt. And it kind of uses the kind of concept that we've seen a lot in other films, the kind of sci-fi concept where it's like you have this naive mind who kind of, has the brain of, an extreme outsider, whether it be a toddler or like an alien, like for example, Under the Skin, where, they're discovering the world and learning everything about society and humanity, both the good and the bad. And this film uses that type of concept to, again, explore feminist themes that have to do with valuing women's autonomy and also criticizing misogynistic social norms. And I do think that it does an excellent job at using that as a foundation to explore a lot of these themes. Again, it is quite overt with it, and perhaps at times it's a little bit too on the nose about it. But overall, I do think that he does do an exceptional job at being creative with how he's exploring these things. And again, this film does have an amazingly awkward sense of humor. It's dark and it's quirky, and it actually uses that sense of humor to explore a lot of those themes as well. And the ending to this film, I thought, was pretty damn great. The final few minutes of it, like the way that it just chooses to conclude and wrap everything up, it honestly feels like the ultimate woman's fantasy, and it feels satisfyingly earned. And I just feel like everything that the audience, the whole journey that the audience goes through the entire film, I feel like it all builds up to this moment and it wraps it up in a unique yet satisfying type of way. It really is like a slay queen kind of moment, but it actually feels rewarding and it feels earned. It doesn't feel like it's forced. And I just think this film does a great job at, again, just building everything up to this moment to where it does give you that rewarding feeling. And the performances across the board are absolutely fantastic. I mean, first and foremost, Emma Stone in this film just gave so much dedication to this character and to this role. And I mean, you could tell, especially after even the first 15 minutes of this film, and it just becomes more apparent as the film goes along, but you could just tell that she fell in love with this material and really respected the content of the script, that she was willing to do whatever it took, to make this film possible and to realize Lanthimos' vision. And I highly respect Emma Stone for that, because she has to do a lot of shit in this film. This is a highly sexual film, but sexual liberation and discovery and just overall women's ability to express themselves in a free-spirited way and, have value for their own autonomy is a huge element of this film. So it all feels like it's not there unnecessarily. But I feel like the way I'm describing it might make it come off like it's a one-dimensional type of film, but it's really not. I feel like this film is layered and very balanced and very structured and just has a lot of things to say regarding this subject that isn't just woman power kind of thing. Because overall, this is a pretty philosophical film. It explores other philosophical subjects regarding humanity and society, such as things like, are we innately good or evil? Is the world too far gone and even worth saving, or should you just live for yourself? Willem Dafoe's character in the film is literally named God, and he's basically a type of mad scientist. And when I feel like it comes to his character's actions and feelings and motives throughout this film, you can easily draw connections to his character and the more religious conceptions of God that a lot of people believe in. I feel like Lanthimos has always been fascinated by these types of themes and concepts. I feel like he explored that quite a bit with the killing of a sacred deer, with the whole concept of a surgeon having so much power over someone else's health and body, and obviously Martin in that film being the one that actually has power over the one that would consider themselves God. But anyway, back to the performances of this film. Willem Dafoe is obviously amazing. He just comes off always so absorbing and so natural, and he's actually quite humorous in this film. I think he has a lot of just hilarious lines, and he just always just has that great timing, whether it be with the comedy or just when it comes to emotional deliverance. I just think he's just always on his A game, and he is incredible in this film. Mark Ruffalo surprisingly fantastic in this film. I'm not saying that he's like a bad or mediocre actor or anything, but I've never seen him in this type of role. And he just has, I mean, he is, especially the way this film establishes his character, he's definitely just kind of a yucky, gross type of character because he's somebody that obviously is taking advantage of a naive person. But, you know, as the film progresses, you just can't help but be so entertained by his spunk and just his goofiness. And I don't know, he just comes off as such a humorous character in this pathetic kind of way that but just to me always a joy to see him on screen. So I mean honestly, like, he was really good in this film, and I wouldn't mind seeing him at least be nominated for an Oscar as well. Obviously that goes without saying, you know, Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe, because they all deserved it. Emma Stone should honestly like be in the running to win, because she, again, the amount of dedication and the amount of acting skills and talent required to pull off something like this is quite staggering, and I just think she did an excellent job. Really, my biggest complaint with this film is that I just personally feel that it's too long, because we have these two long segments in the film, one that takes place on a cruise ship and the other one that takes place, well, I'll just say that it revolves around sex work, and both of those segments just feel like they linger on for way too long. Not in a way that makes it feel like I'm bored with what I'm seeing, because I still feel like it's all entertaining enough for me to feel engaged with the material, but it does hit a point in each of those segments where I feel like I got it. We can kind of progress the plot more, and I just don't feel like there's enough progression there, and there's not really enough conflict, and there just needed to be something more within those segments for me to feel like the runtime of each of them were justified. Because once those two segments wrapped up, and once we kind of like, you know, switched gears into the third act, then I felt like, okay, yeah, everything here from the third act and beyond feels totally necessary. I'm totally engaged with the conflicts that arise, and I don't know, I feel overall more satisfied and compelled by the material. The film's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and I feel like if it was 2 hours on the dot, it would have, for me personally, elevated the pace and the flow of this film overall. But yeah, obviously, I think this is a great film. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a gothic fairy tale for adults, and I really couldn't recommend it enough. So I'm going to give Poor Things a solid 8 out of 10. I'm really hoping that Poor Things gets a good amount of Oscar love. I'm not sure if it'll win anything, but I'm just hoping that it can get some nominations. That way, get some more exposure, because it really does deserve it. But anyways, the next film I'm going to be seeing in theaters is The Iron Claw, and that's probably going to be the last film I see in 2023, because The Zone of Interest, the Jonathan Glazer film, is not anywhere near me, and that's the case for pretty much everybody that doesn't live in fucking New York or LA. So, unfortunately, it's just the way it is. I'm probably not going to be able to watch The Zone of Interest until hopefully early January, but who knows. I really want to get my best of 2023 list out there, but I feel like I just feel like it would be completely unjust for me to make that list and not watch The Zone of Interest, because that was one of my most highly anticipated films of the year. And I just really want to watch that film before crafting the list. Don't forget to consider joining my Discord for $5 a month on Patreon. We have movie nights all the fucking time. We got movie discussions all the fucking time. We got a bunch of shit going on all the fucking time. So if you really love movies, it is just an excellent place to mingle. And that's about it. If you really enjoyed this review, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.